Hello guys, welcome back to another video. And today I want to talk to you guys about a concept regarding structure and what that means. I want to ask you guys a question. Let's say you have a building. And so the building, the core body of the building is very weak. And the foundation is mid-level weak, let's say. So now you have two options. You could tear down the main body and rebuild from the same foundation. Or you could destroy the main body and the foundation and rebuild it entirely with a stronger foundation. And so I want to ask you guys, what would you do in this hypothetical situation? And so on this question, I started reflecting on this idea regarding structure and the foundation of structures. Oftentimes as human beings, we have an attachment to certain structures that we've implemented in our lives. And it can be truly difficult to relinquish or to let go of those structures. So I began thinking, okay, if I do have this structure and it's weak, would it be advisable to break it down, the main body, and rebuild it? Or would it be advisable to just destroy the entire structure altogether? And so personally, from my own experiences, I've noticed that oftentimes I only address the main body. I will leave that same weak foundation, and every time I try implementing a new idea upon a weak foundation, the foundation gets weaker and weaker and weaker. And when you have a weak foundation, the body of that building will continue to weaken. No matter how many times you rebuild it, every time you rebuild it, it will get weaker and weaker and weaker unless you address that foundation, unless you address the roots, the key issues. It's like a stubborn weed. You can keep pulling out a weed, but eventually it's just going to keep growing back out. You have to pull it out entirely. And to me, that is one of the key components about change. Oftentimes that we will be attached to a certain mentality, a certain mindset, or a certain system of beliefs which we don't align with, which we don't agree with, which we don't resonate with, which doesn't help us. But we refuse to let go of it. We stay attached to that base and we try to rebuild it. Think about fitness, for example. There's a famous saying, muscles are built in the kitchen, and that is a fact. And don't get me wrong, I'm not any muscular person, I'm just giving this as an analogy. So the question is, okay, well, I don't have abs right now, but what if I do 5 kilometers of cardio every day now? Okay, well, I'm still eating unhealthy, so I still don't have abs. Okay, so now it's like, what if I do 5 kilometers of cardio, I train abs, and I go to the gym every day? But you're still eating poorly, you're still not going to have abs. You know why? Because you've addressed the body, you've addressed the main body, yes, but you failed to address the root cause. You failed to address the diet. And that's how it works with everything in life. If you truly want to see changes, if you truly want a difference, you have to give up. You have to give up the foundation. And I know that's not an easy thing to say. That is the hardest thing for a lot of us. That is the hardest thing for me to do. That is something I am constantly and actively struggling with till this day, and I am struggling with it today as well. But that is the truth. That is something we have to endure. That is something we have to do. If you are struggling with something, if you want to make changes, you can't just keep tearing away at the bark of the tree. You have to address the roots, or it will regrow and regrow and regrow. And each time you will fail and fail over and over again. And I hope this video is a benefit to you guys. And I understand the difficulty. I truly do understand the difficulty. But to me, this is one of the key foundations and cores as to why I personally have struggled to change and why I've seen so many other people struggle to change. For example, let me give you guys an example. Sorry, I didn't mean to end the video that early, but my one friend, he's been searching for a job for a while. But despite this job search, he hasn't became successful. But that being said, he hasn't addressed the key issue. He hasn't addressed the key issue, which is his resume. He keeps applying. He's applied to many places. He's applied and applied and applied, but he hasn't addressed the key issue, which is his resume. And so that is just one example of many. And the same could be said for something like the gym I said, or something like studying. You might say like, okay, you try a new study method. Okay, that doesn't work. You try a different study method. That still doesn't work. So clearly, the studying is not the core. The studying is not the roots. Maybe the roots is a mentality issue. Maybe the roots is a subconscious belief that you have instilled in yourself, which has caused you to come up short. That is a component or aspect that you have to consider. And that is effectively what I am trying to say. If you truly want to change if you truly want to see changes in your life, if you truly want to see progression in different elements in life, you have to address the roots. You have to address the foundation, because addressing the main body is a temporary solution, but it's a short-term solution that will not last.